Hello, this is the Unit 2A Algebra 2 test review. This is going to be split up into multiple parts. So the first part is going to be this first page with polynomial operations and factoring the quadratics. On this first page, I'm not going to do all of them just because it's kind of repetitive and it's the same thing. And so that you can test yourself to make sure that you know what you're doing and check the answers with the key that's provided on Google Classroom. I'll do number 1 through 4, all of them, because they're all different. So the first one, we got to make sure that when we're adding or subtracting, we're only combining like terms. And like terms means that like 5x to the 6th can combine with negative 9x to the 6th because they both have an x to the 6th in them. So 5 plus negative 9 is going to be a negative 4. Oops. And then x to the 6th. Then 9x to the 3rd can't combine with an x squared, an x, or another x. So just 9x to the 3rd. And then we have negative 20x squared that can't be combined with anything else. And then the negative x to the 6th and the negative x to the 6th, adding those together, we get negative 12x's. With subtraction, it's very similar, except for we gotta keep in mind that subtraction symbol. So we have 17x squared minus negative 6x squared. That's gonna turn into a plus. Double negative means we're adding. So we will then have 23x squared. Then 7x squared minus negative 5x. Same idea there. Then we will get plus 12x. And negative 14 minus negative 18 will turn it into a plus. So this will be negative 14 plus 18 will be positive 4. With number 3, I'm going to do just the arrow method for multiplication. So 3x times 4x, that's going to be a 12x squared because we have to add those exponents together. And then 3x times 1 will be 3x. Negative 1 times 4 will be minus 4x, and negative 1 times 1 will be minus 1. Combine the like terms, and you'll get 12x squared minus x minus 1. So that's one method to look at for multiplying polynomials together. On number 4, the main thing is because that's a squared, we cannot just square both of these. That's because this is a binomial it has two terms. So if we really were to write this out, this is the same thing as writing 4a minus 7 times 4a minus 7. So that will give us the middle term. And I'm going to use the area model just because I'll be using the area model down below for multiplying. And it's essentially the same thing as what I did on number 3. So So each term 4a minus 7 and 4a minus 7 will go on the length and the width of the box, and then just multiply. So this is going to be 16a squared. This will be negative 28a. 4 times negative 7, I'm just multiplying the 4a and the negative 7 to get negative 28. Just multiply what the column and row are. This will be positive 49, and then add all together. So you get 16a squared minus 56a plus 49. Okay, number 5. This is the same thing except for it's not really set up. F of x is 2x squared minus 3x plus 2, so that's just going to be replaced for each of the f of x's. Same thing for g of x. That's negative 4x minus 3, so g of x. So we're just going to set it up the same way how it's written on number 1 through 4. This will be 2x squared minus 3x plus 2 plus, that's f of x, g of x, which is negative 4x minus 3. And you'll just add them together, add the like terms just like in number 1. Same thing for number 2. So for now, this time we're subtracting. And then on C, this time we're multiplying them together. So just like 3 and 4. The only thing to watch is when we do multiply 2x squared times negative 4x, that's going to be a negative 8x cubed because those exponents add together. That's something that students miss a lot. And you can check your answers with those on the key. Okay, for factoring, I'm going to do number 6, 9, and 10 so that you can see some examples of how to factor, and then looking at 7, 8, and 11 on your own and checking. Like I said before, I'm going to use the area model. I'm going to draw this and copy it. And so with factoring, because these are quadratics, we know that it has to come from two factors, two things multiplied together. And so once I multiply those together, those are my length and my width. So I'm looking for what go on my length and my width. But x squared has to come out of it. This first term has to come from somewhere. And that comes from multiplying x and x together. So I know that it has to have an x and an x. The second thing that you know is this has to be 12. So it has to have two numbers that multiply to 12. And so you could do 1 and 12. You could try 3 and 4. You could try 2 and 6. But those numbers do matter because what happens in the middle with negative 13x is these two things after they're multiplied, so this is 12x and this is 1x, have to add so that they equal negative 13x. And as you can see, right now that equals positive 13x. So I'm going to make those negative. These still will multiply to a positive 12, but they will add to a negative 13x. So the two factors are going to be x minus 1 and x minus 12. Okay, looking at number 9. Starting off with, we need 5x squared to come out of this. So the two things that can multiply to bring 5x are 5x and x. And then test out, we know that this has to come to negative 6. So try two things. I'm going to try 2 and negative 3 in these spots. So if I do negative 3 times x, I get negative 3x. And 5 times 2, that's a 10x. When I add these two together, 10x minus 3x, I don't get negative 13x, so that's okay. I'm just going to try. Maybe I'll switch the sign, because that will still make it so that I get a negative 6. But if I switch it, 3x, negative 10x, get negative 7 still. So you can try to switch where they're placed. So you try 2 and negative 3. You still get negative 6. But now I get 2x and negative 15x. Which, once those two are added, 2x and negative 15x, that does equal negative 13x. So the two factors are going to be 5x plus 2, because this is a positive 2, and x minus 3. And then on number 10, 3x squared has to come from 3x and x. And negative 8 has to come from somewhere. So I'm going to try 2 and negative 4. So I get 3x times negative 4, that's a negative 12x. And x times 2, that's a 2x. Add those together, that does equal negative 10x So the two factors are 3x plus 2 and x minus 4. So try 7, 8, and 11 on your own and see if you get the same factors. You can always multiply what you do get for your factors back together, just like how you did up above, to see if you get the original quadratic. If you do not, then something went wrong.